Did I ask you for a son? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" she lamented. Sensing the depth of her grief, the prophet accompanied her back to her home. As the sun dipped below the horizon, anticipation hung heavy in the air. Elisha entered the room where the child lay lifeless. With fervent prayer, he stretched himself upon the boy, feeling the warmth of breath return as life flooded back into the small body, eyes fluttering open to God's miraculous embrace. In another moment of profound need, Elisha faced a test of provision amid a great famine. Commanding that 20 loaves of barley and fresh ears of grain be shared among 100 men, he declared, "Give them to the people." As they began to eat, the miracle of abundance took form once more, revealing God's infinite capacity to provide. Each event, threaded together in divine tapestry, reflects God's unwavering invitation to trust in His perfect plan amid despair. What will the widow do now with her newfound oil? How will the noblewoman nurture her miraculous son? And what questions will stir in the hearts of the hungry men? As these sacred stories unfold, they etch an enduring mystery that beckons us to seek the further revelations of God's plan. And it came to pass, after these events, that Elisha journeyed to Shunem, where the wealthy woman offered him a place to stay whenever he passed by. She recognized him as a man of God and, moved by her spirit, prepared a small room for him on the roof, furnished with a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so that whenever he came, he could rest. Elisha, astonished by her kindness, sought to honor her. He called his servant Gehazi and asked, "What can we do for her? Has she no need or desire?" Gehazi replied, "Indeed, she has no child, and her husband is old." Therefore Elisha called the woman to him. When she stood in the doorway, he declared, "At this season, next year, you shall embrace a son." Overcome with disbelief, she said, "No, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your maidservant." Yet she held on to these words, and the promise echoed deep within her soul. Sure enough, the following year she bore a son, fulfilling Elisha's prophetic word, and filling her home with joy. However, as years passed, the child grew, and one day while his father harvested in the fields, he cried out, "My head, my head!" The father instructed a servant to carry him to his mother. As the boy lay upon her knees until noon, a great stillness fell over the house, and he died. The woman's heart fell heavy within her, yet she did not surrender to despair. Instead, she sought out Elisha, the man of God. She prepared her donkey and set out with determination to find him at Mount Carmel. When she reached him, she fell upon him at his feet, grasping them tightly. "Did I ask for a son, my lord? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" Elisha sensed the deep sorrow in her heart, and sent Gehazi ahead with his staff, saying, "Run, lay it upon the child's face." But the noble woman would not leave, saying, "Run, lay it upon the child's face." But the noble woman would not leave without Elisha. Her unwavering faith clung to the man of God, for she knew her only hope lay in his presence. Therefore she insisted, "As the Lord lives, and as you live, I will not leave you." Elisha rose and followed her. Upon arriving at her home, Elisha entered the room where the boy lay. There he saw the child dead upon the bed. He again stretched himself upon the boy, putting his mouth on his mouth, his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. As he warmed the child, the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha called Gehazi and commanded him, "Call this Shunammite woman." When she came in, Elisha said, "Take up your son." She fell at his feet, bowing to the ground, and took her son, lifting him to her bosom, as tears of joy filled her eyes. In another town, a dire famine captured the land, and the people were filled with fear. Elisha gathered the elders of Israel and said, "Put on sackcloth and sit before me." The weight of his command bore urgency, for the time approached when judgment would spill out, gnashing upon the very soul of the nation. Meanwhile, a man brought Elisha bread from the firstfruits, a loaf of barley and fresh grain, and Elisha commanded that it be given to the people, proclaiming, "They shall eat, and there will be some left." So they set the table, and true to the word of the prophet of the Lord, the bread multiplied, satisfying the needs of many. As these wonders unfolded, Israel stood at a precipice, and the hearts of the people surged with questions. What would come next from the God who provided? What new divine mystery awaited in these fragile moments? For the Lord had greater plans ahead, and the time was near when He would reveal His glory among His people in ways unimaginable, shaking the very foundations of their faith. The stage was being set for the destiny of a nation. What further miracles were yet to unfold by His mighty hand? And it came to pass, after the Lord wrought such wonders through Elisha, that a great fear descended upon the hearts of the people as the famine worsened. They gathered in desperation, seeking answers to the cries that echoed through the empty fields and barren homes. Elisha called unto them, "Hear me, O Israel! The dire straits we face are not without purpose. Seek the Lord with all your heart, for He is compassionate and waits to show mercy." With those words he called for a gathering of the faithful, for in their unity lay the prospect of hope. As the sun began to set, a widow approached Elisha with tears streaming down her face. "O man of God," she cried, "my husband has died, and the credit has come for our debts. They will take my children as bondsmen. What shall I do?" The prophet was moved by her plight. "What do you have in the house?" he asked. "Your maidservant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil," she replied. "Go, borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels. Do not gather just a few." Thus Elisha instructed her, for he knew the Lord had purposed a miracle in her hour of need. She obeyed, gathering as many vessels as her neighbors could provide. Once she returned, he commanded her to pour out the oil into the vessels. As she poured, the oil flowed, filling each vessel to the brim. Day turned to night, yet the oil flowed continually until there were no more vessels left. "Sell the oil and pay your debt," Elisha instructed, "and you and your sons shall live on the rest." The woman, her heart now lifted from despair, rushed to do as the prophet commanded, and soon she found freedom, not only saving her children, but providing for their future. As news of this miracle spread throughout the land, people began to gather again at Elisha's feet, bringing their afflictions. They spoke of the children who wept beneath the stars, the hungry who roamed without sustenance. Elisha prayed, and the Lord moved in response, providing bread and fish that were enough to feed multitudes, just as in times past. Among those who heard of the great acts of God was a man named Naaman, a commander of the army of Syria, who was stricken with leprosy. Word of Elisha's power to heal reached him, and he resolved to seek the prophet. Upon arriving, Naaman expected grand displays of healing. Yet Elisha sent but a messenger to him, saying, "Go wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored." Naaman's pride filled him with anger. Are not the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Yet upon the counsel of his servants he humbled himself and obeyed. As he dipped himself in the waters of the Jordan 7 times as the prophet commanded, his leprosy was cleansed, and his skin was made like that of a little child. In the days that followed, the hearts of Israel's people were puzzled by the might of the God whom Elisha served. They began to turn their eyes back to the Lord, as healing and provision swept through the land. Despite their former ways, a stirring arose within them, igniting a longing for restoration. But the Lord had not finished with his people, for among the miracles and healing lay a more profound truth. For as they observed the countless signs, they wondered, how could a God so great care so deeply? What further revelations awaited the nation? What truth was the Lord preparing to unveil? A truth that would call them into a renewed covenant and restore them completely to himself. Indeed, the foundation of history shifted subtly, heralding the time of God's unfolding plan amidst his people. And it came to pass, as the people turned their hearts toward the Lord, they gathered once more to hear the words of Elisha. Each face bore the marks of hunger and hope intertwined, seeking strength in the proclamation of God's truth. Elisha rose among them, his voice steady, filled with courage and clarity. "Behold, O Israel, the Lord has not forsaken you. In your trials there lies the crucible of his purpose and love. For the Lord shall reveal his hand among you, and his glory will manifest in your midst." In that hour, a servant of the King of Israel, a man of high esteem, yet burdened by a heavy heart, approached Elisha. "Man of God," he spoke with tremors of fear in his voice, "the king is troubled by our enemies. Moab gathers against us. What shall we do?" Elisha, sensing the gravity of the situation, sought the counsel of the Lord in private prayer. Soon he turned to the trembling servant. "Tell the king," he declared, "that the Lord shall deliver Moab into our hands. Gather the men of war, for at dawn the mountains shall overflow with water, and the fields shall be filled with provisions." The servant rushed to relay the message to the king, who gathered his bravest warriors. As dawn broke, the armies of Israel advanced toward the valley. Yet as they approached, the unexpected occurred. The horizon shimmered with water of red, as if the land itself had bled. "They have been defeated," cried one of the battle-worn soldiers. "The fields are surely soaked with the blood of our foes." Yet Elisha knew the truth. It was a divine sign. "It is not blood, but water the Lord has sent," he proclaimed. "Fear not, for the Lord shall cause us to overcome. The hearts of the Moabites shall be turned to flee before us, not by might nor by sword, but by the power of God's love." And so it was, as the armies of Israel surged forth. The Moabites, in confusion and despair, turned back upon themselves. The Israelites secured a great victory, driven not merely by sword, but by faith, for God was with them. As the smoke cleared and the victory was secured, Elisha called the people together. "Let us remember this day. The Lord fights for his people, and his provisions extend far beyond what we can see. His ways are higher than our ways, leading us from bondage into promise." Then a young girl, eyes wide with wonder, stepped forth. "O man of God, if God is so mighty, then how can we be certain of his promises? Will he not abandon us again?" Elisha knelt and gazed into her eyes. "The Lord is faithful," he affirmed. "In your walk, seek him earnestly, for his love is unfailing, and his promises are everlasting." Her heart stirred with hope, and she left with the others, speaking of the wonders of God. The news of the deliverance and provision fanned out across the land, igniting faith among the people. But even as they celebrated, whispers traveled through the heights of Israel. "What is this revelation of the Lord?" they wondered. "What deeper truth does he desire to unveil to his people?" As the stories of deliverance spread, they stirred a longing for an even greater salvation, a promise yet to unfold. For within the tapestry of Sola's victory lay hints of a covenant more profound, one that would bind hearts in a relationship unbreakable, leading them into the fulfillment of all that the Lord had spoken. And thus the stage was set for greater things to come, for in the shadows of their celebration they felt the stirring of a promise echoing through prophecy. A dawn of redemption approaches, drawing their gaze beyond themselves into the expanse of God's wondrous plan. And thus the stage was set for greater things to come, for in the shadows of their celebration they felt the stirring of a promise echoing through prophecy. A dawn of redemption approaches, drawing their gaze beyond themselves into the expanse of God's wondrous plan. And in those days a great commotion arose in the hearts of the people of Israel as they spoke of the Lord's might and mercy. The tales of deliverance from the hand of Moab spread like fire among stubble, igniting a fervor of faith across the land. Men and women gathered in their homes and in the streets, recounting the wonders of God as Elisha had instructed. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the earth, a man named Jehoram stood before Elisha, his brow furrowed with concern. "O man of God," he said, "the hearts of the people are wavering. They have seen the victory, yet remnants of doubt linger. How can we secure our faith in the face of future trials?" Elisha, filled with the Spirit of the Lord, directed his gaze toward the heavens. "What is it that you seek, Jehoram? Is it not enough that the Lord has delivered you? Take courage and proclaim the faithfulness of your God, for he has set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life that you may live." The people were moved by the bold declaration of Elisha. They began to gather grain and harvest fruits, sharing with one another, deliberately seeking to strengthen their hearts in unity. "Let us come together," they said, "and bear testimony to the goodness of the Lord." And so they prepared a great feast, inviting neighbors and strangers alike, as the smell of roasted lamb and freshly baked bread wafted through the air, filling the valley with the sweetness of fellowship. Joining them was a woman from the land of Shunammite, well known to Elisha, who bore witness to the grace of God in her life. "Man of God," she proclaimed as she arrived, "I have seen the mighty hand of the Lord. He has granted me a son in my old age." Her words pierced the hearts of many, stirring their memories of the prophecy Elisha had spoken years prior. "Indeed, the Lord's promises are true," she continued. "We shall not forget his words concerning our lives. For even in our deepest despair, he has been our refuge." But amidst the feasting, shadows loomed. In the distance, the armies of Aram, fierce and unyielding, plotted against Israel. They whispered of vengeance and sought a way to dismantle the spirit that Israel had built. Little did they know the Lord had already set plans into motion. Elisha, perceiving the malice that loomed, sought the counsel of the Lord once more. "What shall we do, O Lord? Your people are fragile, yet they stand in faith." "Fear not, Elisha," came the voice of the Lord, "for those who are with you are more than those who are against you." In the depth of the night, as the stars twinkled like promises in the sky, Elisha arose and prayed, "Open the eyes of my servant, that he may see your deliverance." When the dawn broke, the servant looked out and gasped. Surrounding Elisha were chariots of fire and a heavenly host, fierce and shining, standing as a barrier against the encroaching enemy. "Alas, my master!" he cried. Elisha turned to him and said, "Do not be afraid, for the Lord fights for us. His hand is upon our burdens, and his angels guard us." As the armies of Aram approached, the Lord struck them with blindness. Elisha then led them away, for he knew that the purpose of God's deliverance was not just a victory over foes, but a revelation of his mercy towards those who do not yet know him. Thus, a pivotal moment unfolded, not merely to vanquish an enemy, but to sow the seeds of grace among the nations. The path was being prepared for an even greater promise, one that echoed through eternity, a deliverance beyond the physical, a hope for the heart. And so, the people began to realize that their journey was not solely about battles won or lost. There was a deeper narrative, one that compelled them to embrace a calling higher than themselves. For, amidst the victories, a whisper lingered. A covenant of restoration is at hand. What divine appointment awaited them in the days to come? And it came to pass that after the great feast and the deliverance from the armies of Aram, the people of Israel rejoiced and sang praises to the Lord. Great was their faith, and their voices rose like incense before the heavens. Yet the Lord, knowing the depths of their hearts, spoke again to Elisha, a message of both caution and hope. "Go forth, Elisha," the Lord instructed him, "and show the people the depth of my love and the richness of my plans. For just as I have delivered them from the hands of their enemies, so too shall I bring forth a greater deliverance." Elisha, obeying the divine command, journeyed through the towns of Israel, revealing the secret wonders of the Lord. He spoke to all who would hear. "The Lord has not forgotten you, nor will he forsake the descendants of Jacob. Behold, he is doing a new thing. For from the ashes of despair will arise a new hope, and the oppressed shall know the joy of liberation." And as he traversed the land, multitudes gathered around him. "Tell us, man of God, how will this be?" they asked, with eyes filled with longing. With a heart aligned to divine purpose, Elisha replied, "As the Lord has brought water from the rock and sustenance from the sky, so will he pour out his Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy. In the days to come, the heart of the people will turn towards their God, for he will unite them in his covenant of grace."
e os que dei para sentir a graça e a misericórdia para caminharem contigo. A luz que me negas em teu reino será algo que eles possam ver.
Thus the day of unfolded as the Lord had foretold. The army of Israel had not drawn a sword, yet their deliverance was sure. Not merely a physical salvation, but a striking manifestation of God's power, a shadow of the greater deliverer to come. As the people of Israel stood in awe of the unfolding miracle, Elisha received yet another revelation from the Lord, a puzzle for the ages, a declaration of a promise yet to be fulfilled. For behold, the voice of the Lord spoke, in the fullness of time I will send forth my Son, the Lamb of God, who shall take away the sins of the world. And with that, the hearts of the faithful danced at the thought of what was to come, for they realized that their deliverance was but a prelude to a grander narrative, woven through the fabric of eternity. The saga of God's redemptive love was far from over, and indeed, a greater plan awaited its divine revelation. And it came to pass, when the chaos among the enemies subsided, that the children of Israel began to emerge from their fearful shadows and witness the great deliverance the Lord had wrought. The armies of the east lay scattered upon the ground, disoriented and trembling, their swords fallen from their hands like withered leaves before the wind of autumn. Elisha, seeing the fear mixed with joy amongst his people, spoke once more, his voice flowing like a gentle stream. All you who have seen the hand of the Lord, lift your eyes and behold the victory he has given us this day. Rejoice, for our God has silenced the adversary. Our faith has made way for his mighty deeds. As the people encircled their prophet, their eyes shone with a mixture of awe and gratitude. They began to sing praises with renewed fervor, their voices blending in harmonious echoes reaching the heavens. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever. The atmosphere was electric with excitement, yet within Elisha a solemnity grew. He climbed a stone where he might address the assembly, and at that moment the Spirit of the Lord fell heavily upon him. Hear me, O Israel. Today is a day of remembrance, for the Lord your God has not only delivered you from battle, but has revealed his plans through signs most profound. Gather close, for I have words to share. Silence fell, an enveloping hush, as the people leaned forward, eager to hear what divine wisdom would pour forth from the prophet's lips. The Lord has chosen to display his power, that in this act your hearts may be forever reminded of his faithfulness. Yet, among the multitude, there were some whose hearts crouched in uncertainty. What if, now, we are called to greater trials? What awaits us beyond this moment of glory? They whispered among themselves. Elisha's eyes rested upon these troubled souls, and he spoke with tenderness. Fear not what is to come, for just as he has delivered you today, he shall uphold you tomorrow. The road may be fraught with challenges, but the Lord has a purpose more magnificent than our eyes can perceive. At once the sun cast vibrant rays over the assembled crowd, illuminating their faces with a heavenly glow. They joined together, proclaiming, "The Lord is our shepherd, we shall not want. He leads us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake." And then, as they celebrated, a messenger from the east arrived, breathless and fearful. He approached Elisha, bowing low. O prophet of the Most High, my king commands your wisdom. He has seen the mighty blow dealt to our forces, and his heart is filled with dread. Speak, Elisha commanded, for there is no wisdom nor counsel that stands against the Lord. Let it be known that our armies will regroup and return with greater force, the messenger confessed, trembling. What shall we do now? The prophet raised his staff, his eyes fixed on the heavens. Go back to your king and tell him, the God of Israel speaks thus, as I have delivered you today, so too you will not prevail against him. Go and know that the Almighty shall rise as a bulwark against your evil. In hearing these words, the people of Israel stirred with renewed fearlessness. They grasped the significance of Elisha's declaration. The Lord's hand was upon their nation. Then, as Elisha turned his gaze once more toward the people, "Yet take heed, for there is more to this unfolding tale. Just as he has delivered you from the sword today, so too will he prepare you for a more profound understanding of the salvation to come. For the mercy of our God shall ignite a pathway, leading many unto life." The crowd murmured in wonder, the seed of faith taking root within their hearts more deeply than before. And as the sun began to set, casting a golden hue upon them, Elisha raised his voice, declaring, "Rejoice, for behold, the Lord is preparing a greater deliverance, wherein the lost will be found, and the weary will find rest." Thus they left the gathering, their spirits uplifted, yet curious for the unfolding of events to come. What could be this greater deliverance Elisha spoke of? For even now the winds of prophecy blew softly, whispering of promises yet to be fulfilled, and a Savior born to carry the weight of the world. The hearts of the faithful thrummed with energy, for they sensed that in their deliverance his heavenly plan was being stitched into the very fabric of their lives. And so they waited in eager anticipation, for the story was far from over. In that sacred moment, visions danced before his eyes, signs of a covenant kept and promises yet to unfold. As the sun climbed higher, the people gathered once more, drawn by the weight of Elisha's calling. He stood before them, a figure enveloped in divine light, commanding their attention. O people of God, today your deliverance shall not only speak of triumph over enemies, but will usher forth a revelation of the grace that shall cover generations to come. The assembly, gripped by the solemnity of his words, responded with rapt attention. "What shall we witness, O prophet? What greater miracle do you speak of?" Their voices echoed back, seeking understanding. "Listen," Elisha thundered, "for the Lord is preparing a chasm of transformation. Just as he has quelled the wrath of your foes, so too shall he soften the hearts of stone that dwell amongst you. A new day is at hand, where mercy shall rise like dawn upon the weary." A murmur coursed through the throng. Some exchanged glances of skepticism, while others leaned in, sensing the gravity of Elisha's prophecy. "Is it possible?" they whispered, recalling the tales of old, when hearts were indeed turned and the barren were made fruitful. "The God who delivered us from the hands of the east," Elisha continued, "is the same who shall send forth a Redeemer. As he leads you through trials, he shall reveal his salvation to the ends of the earth. So do not fear, for in this deliverance lies not just salvation from your physical foes, but a promise of eternal life that shall blossom in every heart that believes." At that moment, a woman stepped forward from the crowd, her face lined with sorrow. "My son is lost to despair. I fear he shall not return. Will this promise extend even to him?" Elisha's eyes softened as he beheld her anguish. "Fear not, for the Lord hears your cries. Your son is not lost beyond the reach of his grace. He shall find his way back, for nothing is impossible with our God. He is the light that pierces every darkness." Encouragement spread like wildfire through the assembly. They spoke of hope, not merely for their immediate salvation from adversaries, but for family and friends burdened by doubt and fear. Songs of thanksgiving began to rise once more, infused with a deeper understanding of God's boundless grace. Then Elisha raised his hands to the heavens, declaring, "Thus saith the Lord, you will see with your very eyes this new beginning. For there shall arise one who will bring sight to the blind and set the captive free." As the words settled into the hearts of those present, they felt a stirring. An expectation filled the air, drawing them closer together as one people, unified in faith. Their spirits soared, mingling with prayers for the promise of restoration and hope. And so the people pondered the glorious revelation bestowed upon them, grasping the weight of this divine unfolding. The winds of prophecy swirled, carrying whispers of the one who was truly to come, a beacon of hope and salvation for not only Israel, but for all nations. Little did they know, within the tapestry of their struggles, the very fabric of God's sovereign plan was being woven, each thread a testament to his unending faithfulness. For beyond their present struggle lay a salvation that would transcend time, a promise echoing through generations yet to be revealed. As they awaited this greater deliverance, the whole earth stood poised, trembling on the brink of fulfilled prophecy. And it came to pass, as the people of Israel stood united in faith, freshly inspired by Elisha's declarations, a profound stillness enveloped the land. In the hearts of the faithful, anticipation surged alongside hope, for they understood that God's promises were not mere words, but divine truths woven into the very fabric of their lives. Elisha, sensing the weight of this sacred moment, lifted his eyes toward heaven and proclaimed, "Listen, O Israel! The Lord has heard your cries and sees your afflictions. He is preparing the way for your deliverance, a deliverance not just from your enemies, but from the chains that bind your hearts." As the words hung in the air, the people grasped the significance of his prophecy. Their gaze sharpened, expecting that the very land would bear witness to an unfolding miracle that transcended their earthly struggles. "Indeed," Elisha continued, "the Lord shall send forth a Redeemer, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. In him lies the promise of salvation that will echo through the generations." The assembly responded with a chorus of shouts, "O Lord, let it be so! We await the one who will bring redemption." And at that moment it was as if the heavens opened, and the Spirit of God descended upon them like the wind, igniting each heart with fervor. In their united cry, the foundations of disbelief trembled. Among them stood one whose heart had wrestled with doubt, an elder who had lost faith during the years of turmoil. With a shaking voice, he proclaimed, "We have seen your wonders, O God. Even now I place my trust in your promises. Help my unbelief, that I may fully embrace the hope you offer." "Fear not," Elisha assured him, "for the Lord is faithful to those who seek him. His grace extends even to the most broken among us, and he shall not forsake you." Word of this promise spread like wildfire across the nation. Families gathered around their fires, recounting the stories of hope, miracles, and divine providence. The children sang songs of praise, their innocent voices lifted to the heavens as they danced in celebration of the fulfillment yet to come. Days turned into weeks, and the hearts of the people began to transform. Unity replaced despair, and faith eclipsed doubt. They came together in prayer, asking for the Lord's guidance, pleading for the deliverer they so earnestly awaited. Among them walked Elisha, a steadfast vessel of God's truth. He shared visions of future glories and challenged their fears. "No longer shall you be a people divided by doubt, for you are destined for greatness in the eyes of the Lord." Then, as the sun rose one fateful morning, thunderous news reverberated through the nation. An enemy force had gathered against them yet again, but this time the people reacted differently. Instead of fear gripping their hearts, hope surged anew. They remembered Elisha's words and turned toward one another, steadfast in prayer. "Together we shall face this foe," a leader declared boldly. "Let us offer our sacrifices to the Lord and go forth with praise." With instruments in hand and songs on their lips, they approached the battlefield, surrounding themselves with unwavering faith. The sound of their praises rose to the heavens, a melody of love and deliverance intertwined. And when the enemy heard the joyous noise emanating from the camp of Israel, confusion broke out among their ranks. The unity of faith resonated like thunder, and they turned their swords upon one another. In less than an hour, where walls of fear had once loomed high, they vanished in the face of God's overwhelming grace. Thus it came to pass that Israel stood victorious, no longer just a nation, but a testament of hope and resurrection. A newfound understanding bloomed within them, a belief rooted in the promise of a greater Redeemer who was to come, not merely for military victories, but for the salvation of souls. Elisha gathered the people once more, and beneath the open heavens they celebrated the Lord's faithfulness. "Fear not, rejoice with me," he cried, "for the Lord is not just our conqueror, but our Savior. The very foundation of our faith is built upon the rock of His promise." As the people shouted in acclamation, tears streamed down their cheeks, filled with gratitude and joy. They embraced one another, knowing that their covenants with God were renewed through the wonders they had witnessed. Each heart brimmed with the knowledge that they were part of a divine story, one that would echo through eternity. And onto their lips flowed a song of hope, a new declaration sweeping through the land. The God who delivers us from our trials shall also bring forth a deliverer for the whole world. Our salvation is nearer now than we have ever dreamed, and His name shall be known among all nations. And thus the echoes of prophecy resounded throughout Israel, affirming the hearts of the faithful. In that moment, the kingdom of God began to reveal what had long been promised, an assurance of reconciliation, peace, and everlasting life in the true deliverance yet to come. As they held on to hope, a deep, resounding peace enveloped them.